and then I stir it all up. When I make a large batch, I use a shovel. When I'm making a smaller batch, I just use my hands with my gloves. Basically, you want to keep stirring until the entire thing is consistent, so that all of the product looks the same. Then when you add water, you won't have any clumping, and it's easier to mix. Now basically it's all a very similar consistency there. And then you just need to add water. Now again, water is extremely important that you add it very slowly. Small amounts, little at a time. You stir it up until you know how much you need. I'm using a small little cup. I'll probably start with 5 scoops of water. Now keep in mind that I'm using a much smaller scoop for my water than I did for everything else, so it's nowhere near the volume of water. So I started with 6, I'll stir it up and see how that went. At first it looks like you don't have enough, but you've got to continue stirring again until the consistency gets more uniform, because the water likes to hold in pockets, and you'll end up adding way too much water. And at this point, I do some mixing with my hands because the shovel just isn't efficient enough. Because you really got to break it in and work it in to ensure that the water is mixed thoroughly. And then you can decide if you need more water. It appears that I'll be needing about 2 more scoops of water. But it's really close. So probably 2 more scoops of water. And that should be good. Again, this isn't an exact science. I've made quite a few batches of this stuff. Lots that didn't work, and lots that did. What I'm showing you here is my refined method that I have found to work quite well. And I'm very pleased with the results. It's made fairly light with rock that's highly porous and is in the shapes I want, which is one of the big reasons why you make it yourself. The main reasons people make this stuff themselves: 1, to get the shapes they want; 2, because of the cost or availability factor of other rock; and there was another reason. Oh, 3, so that you can say you did more of the tank yourself. Just for the being able to say that I even made the rock in my tank. Just something of note. And yeah, this is, I would say this is about perfect here. When you dig around, it looks fairly dry. There's no wet spots anywhere. But when you look closely, I don't know if you can see, but it still kind of glistens like it's all wet. But it's still quite sticky, and see, I shook my hands off, and my hands are still covered in patches of cement with the oyster shell. That's about perfect. If it all comes off, then you've got too much water. Now, it's really hard to reverse too much water. You're often better off to just restart or split the thing in half and double the recipe, but you might have to do that 2 or 3 times before you get to the amount, because it really does not require very much water. I had 15 of these for oyster shell, 5 cement, 5 sand, and I'm going to add 5 salt, and I only put 8 of these. Large volume difference. Now it's time to add the salt. As I said, I just use coarse water softening salt because it works. It makes nice large holes in the whole thing, very porous, lots of space for bacteria growth, as well as it'll produce some holes that are even big enough for amphipods and cocopeds to live in. And I lost track of how many I'm putting in there. I'm sure you could have counted and know, but I don't know. That's either 5 or 6 scoops.